Hello and welcome to an evening writing vlog. I have a few things planned for tonight. If you're new here, my name is Stephanie and I am writing a book for the very first time with no writing experience. First things first, I am going to finish writing a scene that I have left unfinished for 2 weeks. If you saw my last video, you know that I had to take a hiatus from writing for a little bit. It's been 2 weeks since I last wrote, and I am finally ready to jump back in. I am a little nervous about it. I still know where I left off. I left off kind of in the middle of a scene, which isn't great. I was debating on going 2 different directions, and I went one way, and then I decided after I started writing that I should have gone the other way. So tonight is going to be writing that other way, and it shouldn't take too long because I'm kind of at the end of the scene, and the end of the scene is kind of what sets up what's to come. I do, however, need to go back and revise just a little bit of my writing to change the scene so it fits going that different way. I shouldn't have to go back too far. I believe it's only a few paragraphs. I'm not going to rewrite an entire chapter or anything like that. I need to go up a few lines, at most a page, and just go through the dialogue and kind of add a few things in, take a few things out, just to fix it up a little bit and make it flow as I move in this other direction. The goal tonight is just to write in a cozy atmosphere, enjoy my evening, and write this scene. And then after I write this scene, because I don't expect it to take that long, I am actually going to move into plotting my book. I'll talk about it more when I get to the plotting part, because right now I want to focus on writing the scene, but there is a lot that needs to go in that plotting part. But for now, I'm going to focus on this scene. I am excited to write the scene. As I always say, I'm excited to write pretty much every scene. It's going to be really fun. It'll be fun for the reader. It will be fun for me to write. I'm going to really enjoy this because I have had kind of this series of scenes that I started with when I first started my book up until now. I've had these scenes in my head for months. And so it'll be just really nice to have written all these scenes that have been in my head and get them out on paper and then just kind of be done with it. You know, like it's almost like these scenes are finalized. Once I finish this scene, I might be at a stopping point. I don't know. We'll see. I'll catch back up with you after I finish writing and we can talk about it a little bit. Okay, I'm ready to get this scene over with. It's been hanging out in the periphery for about 2 weeks. I'm ready to write it. I need to get set up and then I will start to write. I finally finished my scene. It is not great, unfortunately. I wrote for about 2 hours, and let me do the word count. I wrote for 2 hours, and I finished by writing 1,054 words. Yeah, that's not great. I had kind of 2 struggles that I was dealing with this writing session. The first was banter. This scene has banter. And I've never really written banter before, and it was really hard for me because I knew what was happening in the scene, and I knew the direction I wanted these 2 characters to take, but I never really planned out what they were going to say. The joy of banter is it's witty, and it's funny, and it's kind of off the cuff, and as I'm writing, I don't really have good examples, or I've not thought about some witty stuff. Like, I feel like I've got to plan this dialogue, and banter is kind of like unplanned dialogue in real life. And so it's just really hard for me to plan an unplanned dialogue. Does that make sense? So anyway, I really struggled because I was having some problems thinking up like funny one-liners, and the lines I was coming up with, while they were okay, they weren't great. Banter needs to be next level, and this was not next level. So obviously I need to fix that in the next go around. It's just something I'm probably gonna end up doing a little bit of research on Banter because I really need some help with it. The second thing I really struggled with was plot holes. As I was writing this scene, I started developing a lot of plot holes. In this scene in particular, I'm talking about magic and I'm talking about customs, and I make this stuff up like it is this way, but I don't have the background information as to why it is this way. And that's where I'm really struggling because my logical mind is like, okay, that's a great like thing you've made up, but why is it that way? And then I cannot come up with a good reason as to why, or every reason that I think of just doesn't work when you start thinking about it. So I really had a hard time while I was writing because I would write something and then I would just stare at my computer and try to mentally understand why something was that way or did it work that way. And I ended up probably writing 3 or 4 different things in there over the course of the scene that have plot holes that I'm going to have to fix at some point. What's interesting is I have been more focused on the larger plot holes that I haven't even addressed yet, like what is the complete plot of my story or where is certain character going. And I've been so focused on kind of building that bigger plot structure that even like the little things, I've kind of ignored how little things work. And this is something I'm going to have to do over the next several months is really drill down, corporate lingo, is really get into the details of all these little magical things and history things and cultural things and come up with like complete plot lines or complete explanations for them. My intention is not to explain every single little thing in the book, but it needs to make sense in my head because as a reader, I do this all the time. I'm like, well, why would it be this way? Or why does it do this? It will really help me as I write to have more details around this because I would make up a rule, but then the characters are talking about said rule and I don't have the rules of the rule or the background of the rule to really explain it or discuss why the characters are making these decisions. So that was struggle number 2. Obviously, this is my first draft, so I'm not going to fret about it too much. But it was a little frustrating just because I really didn't get a ton done tonight. I did finish the scene, but it took a long time and I wasn't super happy with the quality of work that I put out. I just wish it was better. But some days you write well and some days you don't. Okay, on to the next thing, which is plotting. I just finished this scene and this is kind of the last scene that I've had in my head before the rest of the book really starts to take off, and also the point where I haven't really plotted much of my book. If you go back quite a few writing vlogs, you'll remember that I got pretty stuck in the plotting of my book. And at that point, I made a decision to start writing even though I hadn't fully plotted my book. So as kind of an update for that, I definitely made the right decision to start writing the book instead of continuing to try and plot. I feel like I'm making some progress and I'm not wasting time. It also gave me more time to think about the plot. Over the last few weeks, I've really started trying to do creative exercises and think outside the box in terms of plotting this book. And I have come up with a few different things for the main plot point. What I'm going to do tonight is explore those because I think some of them have potential, but I just have to work out how it works. Because these are very much like I have 1-sentence ideas. And so it's like, I really need to understand what this means, how I can work it in the book, what the action is. Like, I just don't know right now. But I'm happy with these ideas that I've had. I think they're fun. I think it adds different elements to the story and it might make it more interesting. So I really want to tonight just brainstorm, kind of do like a mini plotting session just to see what is going on in my brain and what I can come up with and see if I can find a good direction for my book. I'm going to spend like the next hour doing this. I think it's like 10 p.m. so I will have to go to bed soon because I will get tired. But I'm going to brainstorm for an hour and see what I can come up with. one downside to doing evening writing vlogs is how tired I am by the end of the evening. I just finished my plotting session. I spent about an hour plotting and it was okay. I wasn't super productive. I think it's because I was starting to get tired. I did explore some ideas I had and I'm happy with the direction I'm going. So what I did tonight is I fleshed out separate ideas that I had and I was going through and just writing possibilities. So for example, I would put like one theme kind of at the top and then I'd write out bullet points that had to do with it. And then I'd think of something else and I'd write out some more bullet points. And then I started to try and connect them a little bit because I have these different plot points, but they're for different parts of the book. Like one might be related to a character, another plot point might be related to magic, another plot point might be related to history. And I'm trying to kind of wrap all these together because this does have to be a cohesive book. And that's kind of what my concern is right now is I'm confident that I can come up with these plot points and these ideas that need to be worked out further, but it's the combining of them that is where I'm having a hard time. I spent a lot of time just staring at my notes being like, well, how in the world does this connect to this? And then how does this connect to this? And it's just not, connecting in my head. For my next vlog, I'm gonna work on getting more details for these plot points and things like that. And then I really want to start on the index card method. I need to outline my story in a way that allows me to view the whole thing. And in order for me to continue writing the story, I need a solid plot. I do not have a solid plot yet. And I'm just at a point in my story where I could continue writing for a little bit, but I'm not gonna get very much further than where I am. Overall though, I am happy with the progress I made today. Any progress to me is good progress. Even if I write 1,000 words in 2 hours and come up with just a few plot points, it's better than what I had before. It wasn't one of my most productive vlogs, but I made progress all the same. I'm really hoping that once I get my plot figured out, that the writing and the rest of the plotting will go a lot more quickly. So that will be my focus for the next vlog, which is plotting out my book even further.